Here's actress Maddie Phillips describing her new Netflix show.
Hilarious, real story of two fraternal twin sisters, Sterling and Blair, who fall backwards into a life of bounty hunting while trying to navigate the journey of becoming a young woman in a buttoned-up Southern community.
Real? The following is not based on a true story. Phillips's description captures the duality of teenage bounty hunters. It is half case of the week detective crime show, half high school dramedy. Although that first half provides the show's hook and its title, the second half is where TBH truly shines. And at times, it shines bright. The day of its August 14th release, Netflix recommended Teenage Bounty Hunters to me, and boy, that algorithm has got me figured out. I'm a sucker for buddy high school coming-of-age comedies, and I can enjoy a ridiculous premise now and then and always. In this video, I'm going to review the show, focusing on how it plays on conventions of the traditional teenage comedy, how it's able to generate literal lulls, and a few areas of improvement that could elevate a season 2 if Netflix doesn't cancel another good comedy. Please. TBH's main attraction is the goofy high school happenings of twins Blair and Sterling. The show begins with the girls in the middle of a 2000s era friends looking to get laid comedy. No, literally the first scene starts there. You could call the twins
horny.
Tempted.
The show's initial title was going to be Slutty Teenage Bounty Hunters. Probably a solid marketing decision, but that would have been a hilarious title. And much of TBH's mood and comedy are reminiscent of the best of the teenage sex-centric comedy subgenre, with the most obvious difference being that the main characters are female. And the show's female creator, primarily female writing staff, and female lead characters give the show an undeniably female voice in a subgenre long dominated by pie fuckers. Don't misconstrue me. This doesn't mean the show is exclusively targeted at females. It does mean that the show allows its female characters to have explicit interests in sex and new experiences.
I think I'm finally ready to bone, Sterl.
In the same way male characters have for decades. A recent comparison would be 2019's Booksmart, which is basically an updated female Superbad, and I mean that wholly as a compliment. However, TBH discovers its unique perspective in the ways it differs from Booksmart. Booksmart takes place in LA and stars two sex-positive feminists in a stereotypical Gen X high school, or at least as much of a stereotype that exists. Teenage Bounty Hunters takes place in Atlanta. The twins come from an upper-class, conservative, devotedly Christian family and attend a religious school that preaches
abstinence.
The best sex education that teaches nothing about sex. All of this is to say that everything in Blair and Sterling's world reinforces sex as a taboo. A big no-no, the big S. Sin. This context illuminates that men in these stories are celebrated for sex.
If you want to hook up with her, tell her you love her. That's how I was do.
But women predominantly don't have that luxury. The twins' restricted home and school lives are contrasted by the bounty hunting aspects of the show, where no one gives a fuck about what anyone else does with anything. Period. Teenage Bounty Hunters is an example of a show that has value simply in its novelty, and its solid execution of the real premise of the show is just the cherry on top of the icing on the cake. All of my videos on this channel have addressed the comedy of TV shows in some way, so there was no way I couldn't make comedy its own point for a show that made me laugh out loud entirely alone. TBH pulls jokes from a few different wells, some of which work really well, and others of which went a bit dry. In line with the previous section, TBH consistently jokes about the unique perspective the show has. Jokes about the hyper-religious environment cover everything from hypocrisies enforcing biblical preaching, memorizing useless knowledge.
I'll do Solomon's Temple with you. I know all the dimensions from Miss Klein's Sunday school class. 5 cubits in height and 10 cubits brim to brim.
I know the dimensions too. I'm not an animal.
And deciding which religious B-movie should be played at a lock-in.
And that animated Moses,
I mean, he certainly promotes something deep within, right?
There are jokes about the American South and modern conservatism.
I like the shell lifter placement of the Mossberg much better. Now what I really prefer is this Glock 19. So lightweight. But yes, mister, I got it from Daddy.
Christmas!
These jokes land best when they highlight the twins' blind spots in common knowledge.
Tell me, what's the pay?
I think it's like 100
Or 50?
$150 an hour?
Oh no.
Dollars? No.
Another obvious source of comedy is teenage awkwardness. There's awkward comedy galore. Early in the show, Blair goes on a date with someone she's not that interested in, which she comes to regret when she realizes he's
Hot.
Miles is a fun recurring character on the show, and man, this guy can accessorize. How does he keep his necklaces aligned so symmetrically? Damn! Bracelet game on fire. Then there's pretty much all the interactions between Sterling and Luke.
For this time for her to shine, she's the best at making things fine.
On the other hand, the show's pop culture / youth humor felt out of place. All of these jokes have basically the same punchline. Bowser, who is the twins' conduit to the world of bounty hunting, well, Bowser doesn't understand technology. That's the joke. In the first episode, Blair tells Bowser to
download Fruit Ninja. We'll be back with your guy.
What the hell is a fruit ninja?
1 hour later.
Get out of here, Peach. I'm the fruit ninja.
A Fruit Ninja reference already feels about 5 years past being a bit out of touch. Then there's this reference.
You know Jesus was a rebel too.
Yeah, I heard that he saw 9 Inch Nails 20 times on the Downward Spiral tour.
That album came out in 1994. Strange reference for a 16-year-old to make. Maybe I'm just out of touch. This referential humor works best when it's in conversations between Blair and Sterling. Actresses Maddie Phillips and Angelica Betty Fellini have a great on-screen dynamic.
Are you wearing my Savage by Fenty bralette again? I hate you! You're gonna stick it up with your smelly boobs!
Now's not the time.
They really define themselves in the way they are different, but much of the comedy comes from how they are more similar than they would like to admit. Let's talk a little bit about bounty hunting. From the beginning of the show, the twins become Bowser's apprentice bounty hunters. Most episodes focus on the three working together to bring in a skip. Although this element of the show adds external conflict and increases the tension of the twins' school lives, it isn't nearly as engaging as I would have liked it to be. For one, bounty hunting is confusing. The show does its darndest to explain some of the inner workings, but that's a tall task. A bounty hunter is a professional person who captures fugitives or criminals for a commission. However, since they are not police officers, bounty hunters are legally exposed to liabilities that normally exempt agents of the state. Bounty hunters are typically independent contractors paid a commission of the total bail amount that is owed by the fugitive. And every day, bounty hunting is the best practice of common law because it's created enforced. As a result, bounty hunters are hired by significant legal privileges, such as forcibly entering a defendant's home without probable cause or a search warrant. Because their lives are illegal under the laws or Yeah, so it's a little messy. The appeal of bounty hunting for the show makes sense. It isn't just another cop show. Bounty hunters operate outside the law, so there's more freedom for potential plot directions. Bounty hunters are outlaws, which adds the double life aspect of the twins. Bounty hunters work individually, so that adds an obstacle for Bowser to overcome. But they're kind of vigilante cops, which isn't the coolest of professions. TBH attempts to address the moral implications of taking innocent people and nonviolent offenders to jail, but they're kind of fighting a losing battle there. This is connected to a larger problem with the bounty hunting aspect of the show, which is that the cases of the week are very hit or miss, and they miss more often than they hit. There's an overarching mystery in the first season that doesn't overwhelm me. At best, it whelms me. By the end of the season, it felt separate from the rest of the narrative. Actually, a lot of the cases feel separate from the primary storylines. However, these issues could be dealt with by just mixing the bounty hunting and high school elements a little bit more. There are a few minor characters in the high school that have untapped comedic potential.
The last one I heard was that we found the condom and used it. I mean, can you even imagine?
I'd rather not.
Cheese and crackers. Franklin, you need to sit down right now.
Fight me in the shower, bitch! Come on!
Who knows? Maybe their parents, siblings, family friends could be involved in crimes. Of course there's a line. Don't go full Riverdale and have every other student's parents be mafia bosses or murderers. But stakes and goofiness could be heightened by making everything a bit closer to home. Luckily, the show lays the groundwork for this to happen in future episodes. Even with these issues, the bounty hunting parts of the show still land comedically and often create funny scenarios. At one point, Blair does the classic 2 dates, 1 dance trope, switching between a literal date and a bounty hunting investigation-y thing. I still don't understand bounty hunting if you haven't caught on. I hope Teenage Bounty Hunters gets season 2. I saw enough in the first season to trust that a second could be even better than the first. Are you ready for the comparison carousel? Teenage Bounty Hunters is 21 Jump Street with younger, ridiculously old high schoolers. Teenage Bounty Hunters is Euphoria with less graphic sex, less graphic drug use, and more graphic Bible verses. Teenage Bounty Hunters is Sex Education with more white people and without British accents.
It's in this country club and they only cater to the specific clientele.
White people. What? It's true. I don't think it's written in stone, but actually it might be.
And with a special American tinge of haunting dread, overwhelming guilt, and soul-crushing anxiety about openness with sexuality and the dirty deed. Watch TBH as a comedy first, teenage family drama second, and bounty hunter crime show last. The show's distinct female perspective and hilariously American take on the genre give the show a potential to work its way into the pantheon of iconic teenage comedies. Don't fuck this up, Netflix. Please.